So, what is a quest? Excel Academy is underpinned by applied learning challenges, and they start from as young as 3 years old, all the way up through until their graduation. And we know that when we're doing and creating and designing and independently thinking, that's when deep learning really happens. So, this video is a how-to and an explanation on the ethos and the tool that you have in front of you, and then how to use it in your home. Within our early years and lower primary curriculum, we have 8 core subjects. And within each subject, there are between 6 and 8 themes. And in those themes, you will find quests. Why themes, you might ask? Well, neuroscience teaches us that we don't learn in a silo. We don't learn in a one subject. When we cross-curricularize what we're doing and what we're learning, and we bring in different aspects into something that is contextual and meaningful, which is a theme, it makes sense to the brain. And then we can start pulling from what we already know and use that as a hook to hook on a new or not yet learnt concept or fact. And this is the best way that learning happens and becomes lodged into the long-term memory. Therefore, we have that knowledge for life. So behind me here, you can see an example of one of our quests. This one is in the science and inquiry subject. And this particular quest focuses on helping children to learn to ask questions. And the quest is all about asking the right questions and asking better questions in order to solve a real problem. Now, the real problem is the key. Your challenge as a parent is to find a problem that's meaningful to your family or to your children, because then they're going to have the interest to go and solve it. Each of the pages of the quest outlines a key bit of information that you'll want to have when you're planning. Here, it gives the duration of how long the quest is, so you know that this inquiry and piece of work is going to go over a 4-week period. Now, of course, that's not the only thing you're going to be doing for 4 weeks. It's just one element of it. So you might have it ongoing where you're focusing on science every morning for 4 weeks, or maybe just 3 times a week. Depending on the problem you're trying to solve and how deep you go, that's really where it's up to you. And the beauty of the quest is it really gives autonomy and freedom while giving you quite a solid structure as well of what to do. Here you can see a little script on how you can begin to identify the problem that you're going to solve. But make sure you name it first, okay? So that your child has real conscious awareness of what it is that they're going to be focusing on every time they go in to do science and inquiry. That helps the scaffolding and the building of deep, deep learning. The hook is where we spark curiosity. And if I'm curious, I'm going to work through challenging and difficult things to find out and to figure it out. In fact, it surges the dopamine in the brain to want a bit of more. I want to explore this and understand it more, even if it's tough. So it's really important to find a hook that is going to appeal to your children to get them interested. And it's generally linking to something that's already in their world and something that maybe is a pain point or something that's happening to others around them within their community or their family that they want to go and find a solution for or build on. Here you can see that we've outlined the learning outcomes, and these are pulled directly from our Excel International Curriculum. So you can then say, hand on heart, that you know good and well that your play and your investigative work is directly connected to the curriculum, and you're going to be tracking that with evidence as you go through the challenge. Within your drive here, you will see also that you have access to the curriculum. As you go in to the curriculum guide folder, open up the International Curriculum tab or document. And here then you'll see all of our subjects and the link of how to get to the curriculum. Then once you come through to that link, you will see the page for language and literacy, maths, science and inquiry, whichever one you chose. And as you scroll down, you'll see the full curriculum spine of everything that the child will learn while following this curriculum. So once again, you can be very confident to share with local authority investigators or family, friends, and people who are asking, what curriculum are you following? Rather than just going down to a local bookstore and buying workbooks and hoping for the best and trusting that you're having good progression through the curriculum, here now you can see it right for yourself and have it as one of the tools within your toolbox. You can also see the curriculum is broken into age bands. Excel Academy, we know, and we are underpinned by the fact that you don't know stuff just because of your year of manufacture. We're different, we're humans, and we learn things at different times. And in fact, having a 2 or 3 year scope of milestone flexibility, children can access the learning and the growth and in the way that suits them. Within each of the age bands, once again, you can start to see the themes that we have pulled it into. These are subject themes that link then directly to exploration themes as they go through the quests. Yet this also helps you to focus on the key skills that they're going to be learning. And as you drop down, you'll see all the concept capsules within, let's say, attention, listening, and understanding. These are the key things that they'll need to learn before they're 5, around and about. Some of them may achieve them far earlier, and that's just great because they can get through the curriculum then even faster and at the pace that you decide to work through together. And again, you can see a bit of a rubric here that we've outlined. How do I know? And what level have they achieved? So this is at the emerging level. You see that they're showing you brief understanding and responding slightly inconsistently, but that's okay because they're only 3. Or you can jump over here and see the developing or the extended levels of capacity and skill. And you can then know hand on heart that this skill is ticked off. Yeah? Up here, you can also switch over to the I can statements. And this is the curriculum that they'll be gaining in their different age bands once again, but in the child speak to help them articulate what it is they're trying to learn. For example, I can talk about things that have happened, and here we're looking at past tense and getting children to recall and articulate something that they've heard. So you're going to be using that skill during the quests, during literacy time, story time, sitting around the kitchen table, etc. These things, a lot of them happen just in growing up and in what you do together. But it's also a good opportunity to focus on it specifically and to teach it where you feel that there's a gap. So having these put up in your home and very clear to the children what it is they're trying to learn is always going to be a bonus. You can also see up at the top, you have a scheme of work, and you can look at the different things you can cover in the autumn term and the spring term, if that's how you're choosing to do your education. But of course, you can also just have ongoing learning all the time. Again, you can see a way that you can do assessments, and these are things that you could be doing within your home. It gives ideas of how to pull and gather and glean information, record it, and have evidence of your child's learning. Then within your drive, you'll see a tab that says instructional videos. Once going inside, you'll see an array of different videos that will give you information on key elements of not only Excel Academy and how it works, but also, for example, tracking and recording the evidence that you glean from the quests to showcase your child's learning journey and to evidence what they've learned and how they do it well or need developing. One of the ways I love to promote it is in something called a floor book, which is basically effectively a big stack of paper made into a book that you keep on the floor that can record the child's journey all throughout the quest. And this video takes you through exactly how to do that. It's a really fun way to get your child involved in evidencing their knowledge and skills. Okay, let's get back to that quest, all about asking better questions. Again, back to the curriculum page, you can see that we've pulled not only the core elements from the curriculum that need to be learned during this quest or that will be learned, but also the I can statements. So you have that right to hand, and we've merged the two so that you can see how they compare. For example, what we're learning is questions help us understand problems. The I can statement is I can ask questions to help solve problems. You can see the direct correlation there, making it very easy and evident for all of you what it is you're going to be focusing on gaining a skill in. A big part of Excel Academy, and one that underpins everything we do, is developing thinking skills, because the world is going to demand that of them as they come into adulthood. AI is doing a lot of the jobs that we've trained children for in the past, whereas now the skills that will be demanded are those that come from a deep ability to think. and to use our humanism because the AI is doing all of the regurgitation. So woven throughout every quest are thinking skills. And this is where you as a parent step back from the teaching and encourage through open-ended questions and modeling your knowledge and your thinking process so that your child can get involved and learn those skills too. And there's an instructional video on how to do that over in the video drive that I showed you moments ago. We've also outlined the cross-curricular links because learning doesn't happen in a silo, remember? And the brain doesn't learn boring stuff. So when we're doing lots of things together, which is of course real life, when you're cooking, you're not only doing sciencey stuff and chemistry elements, you're also using maths. You're using listening and attention. You're using creativity. All of them in the round bring together a really wholesome activity. It's the same in our quests, and we make sure that children are kind of almost required to dip in to lots of different subjects, even if the quest is predominantly science-based, for example. Here we make suggestions of the learning spaces and materials you might want to set up in order to enable this quest to come to life. Because really, your environment is the third teacher. It's your primary learning space. Remember, if I can touch it, see it, taste it, smell it, break it, build it, redesign it, that's when I really, really learn. So think strategically and carefully about your learning environment and what kind of spaces are going to be available for your child to go to complete these quests that have the materials and the context that they'll need in order to really inspire that deep learning. Then the quests go week by week, and they outline exactly what you can be focusing on that week, and you'll see the progression to completion of the quest by the end of the 4 weeks. Some of our quests are 4 weeks, some are 8 weeks, and as the children get older, they go into 16 to 30 weeks. So the depth and the complexity that they will gain in that time is really what's going to enable the learning. And remember, learning takes time and it takes energy. So don't rush through these. So allow for the time, even 2 or 3 hours of deep, focused, investigative work. Time when you can ask those questions and really communicate your ideas and challenge the norm or what we're doing now and saying, is that the best way? Could we do something differently? Could it be even better? This is where children really start getting interested and the learning becomes so profound. We have a page suggesting on how you can gather the evidence of your child's learning journey. Different suggestions of ways that you can do it, whether it's photographs, further questions and then capturing the answer, just taking observations on sticky notes, etc. And all of these can live in that floor book or in your child's learning journal that you have for them. I wouldn't suggest having a learning journal for every subject, but maybe 2 or 3, maybe one more for your maths and sciences and another one for your creative and art and storytelling, etc. That way children can have 2 different key places where they're recording their learning, placing their brain into the right style of learning or space of learning when they go to get their maths and sciences learning journey or when they go to get their creative and literature one. But it's up to you. What we want to have is something that they can hold with real pride to show family and friends of all that they're doing, learning and developing. It, of course, then also gives you opportunity for that progression check against the curriculum. And when you get that knock on the door and someone comes from the local government asking you, what are you doing to teach your child? Well, you have all the evidence to hand. You have the direct curriculum links. And even if they walk in and see what is a big mess across your home and that you're just playing, which is, of course, the depth of learning, you can say, but look what our play is generating. Look at all of this learning that we are having and capturing on a day-to-day basis. And this is where we're actually then doing education differently, which is what you wanted when you chose homeschooling. And we always end with a final outcome and reflection page of why this really worked, what impact it made for your child. And at the end, you can look at it and review and ask yourself really critically, did we actually achieve this and did it work? And I might even suggest you check this page out before you start the quest so that you know where you're aiming to get. I really hope that that was helpful for you. And once again, please feel free to ask us any questions that you have. We look forward to continuing to work with you.